November 7, 1993. Podium of the Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide. Something unbelievable is about to happen. But before we talk about that, let's go back a bit. In 1988, rising Brazilian driver Ayrton Senna joins the double world champion Alain Prost at McLaren Honda. They will drive the MP44, one of the most dominant F1 cars of all time. That year, McLaren wins 15 out of the 16 races. Ayrton Senna wins his first world championship with 8 Grand Prix victories. 1989, second Grand Prix of the season in San Marino. Senna takes the pole position. The team decides that the driver in the lead after the first corner will be allowed to stay in front of his teammate for the rest of the race. The Grand Prix is restarted after the horrific accident of Gerhard Berger at the Tamburello curve. Prost takes the lead at the start but is passed by Senna after the first corner. The Brazilian wins the race. Furious, Prost feels betrayed. Senna insists that the agreement was only valid for the first start. The two pilots will no longer speak to each other until the end of the season. Prost has the opportunity of winning the World Championship in the penultimate race of the season in Japan if Senna does not finish ahead of him. The Frenchman crashes into his teammate on lap 46 when Senna was about to overtake him.
Oh my goodness, this is fantastic!
Prost is out of the race. Senna manages to restart but is later disqualified because his car was pushed by the marshals. The Frenchman wins his third World Championship title and leaves McLaren to join Ferrari. The rivalry between the two former teammates is far from over. Japanese Grand Prix, 1990. Similar situation to the previous year. Senna has the opportunity to become world champion if Prost does not finish ahead of him. Upset because he will start on the dirty side of the track despite his pole position, Senna is resolved not to get past.
On the inside, and it's happened immediately! This is amazing!
Senna wins his third world title in 91. Prost retires the same year after being sacked by Ferrari. He returns in 93 in the Williams Renault team, dominates the 93 season but decides not to continue the following year. He refuses to become teammates with Ayrton Senna, who will join the team in 94. Back to November 7, 1993. Senna wins the last Grand Prix of the season ahead of Prost, now a quadruple world champion. He invites the Frenchman to join him on the first step of the podium, an unbelievable scene given the rivalry between the two champions. The relationship between the two men changes drastically during the 93-94 off-season. Senna calls Prost almost every week. He even asks him to return to F1 and tells him about his lack of motivation to fight against the new generation. Senna is the only world champion present in 94. He wins the pole positions of the first 3 Grand Prix, but is forced to retire every time. Young German driver Michael Schumacher wins all 3 races. The 4th round of the season at Imola begins in the worst possible way, with the serious accident of young Brazilian driver Rubens Barrichello during free practice. Saturday, March 31, qualifying. Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger loses control of his car, which hits a concrete wall in the Gilles Villeneuve curve. He dies in the accident. Sunday, May 1st. During the warm-up preceding the race, Senna, who has placed an Austrian flag in his car, which he intends to display in tribute of Ratzenberger in the event of a victory, delivers a message, as unexpected as it is overwhelming.
My dear friend Alain, we all miss you a lot.
On the 7th lap of the race, Senna's steering column breaks and hits his helmet at the Tamburello curve. Ayrton Senna dies in the accident. He was 34 years old. Baltasar Gracian wrote that the wise man gets more from his enemies than the fool from his friends. The rivalry between these two champions has transcended not only their careers, but their sport as a whole. Prost and Senna, Senna and Prost. Beyond the rivalry, these two names will forever remain inseparable from each other.